Some clients just suck. There's really no nice way to put it, and learning how to expose and avoid them before you let them hire you will keep you from tearing your hair out. Now, it can be fun to joke about, but dealing with hellish clients is actually really serious. That's because getting good at avoiding clients who just don't fit well with your personality and how you operate is going to help you avoid getting seriously burnt out and overwhelmed. And I've been there myself, and 90% of the reason was me dealing with clients that I really was not a good fit for. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to avoid clients from hell before they ever hire you. So stay tuned. Now, having been at this for 10 plus years, I've had my fair share of clients from hell. For example, there was a time I had 4 to 5 hours worth of coding work dropped on me at 7 p.m. on a Sunday night. And they, of course, needed it done by early the next morning. There was also the client who accidentally copied me on a nasty email that she had sent to her coworkers and was bringing up stuff that they, of course, had never ever mentioned to me. And of course, you always have the clients who disappear for 3 or 4 months at a time and then show up out of nowhere and need a bunch of stuff done in the next 2 days. So I've been there, I've experienced that, and I know what it's like. But here's what I figured out. Most of all of that was my fault. Now, it wasn't my fault in the sense that I did something shady and I deserved what I got. But it was my fault in the sense that I was taking on any client that I could, and I wasn't really honing in on my most ideal clients and only working with them. Now, when you do that, when you take on any client you can get, you're setting yourself up for lots and lots of heartache and pain. And if you think about it, it's really kind of dumb, because here you are getting paid thousands of dollars to build what is probably at that time that person's most prized possession. And oftentimes, we as developers and on the client side too, we hardly take any time to actually get to know each other and know what each other's boundaries are and figure out if we're a good match for one another. So it's no wonder that it turns out bad, but you can fix it. So here's some examples of things that I've learned over the years that help me to find someone that is a good match of a client. So for example, I know first off that 85% of the people who follow me online are male. However, I generally relate better to women simply because of my personality and what I value. They're oftentimes more similar to what women value and how their personality works. And yes, I'm a big softie, so I generally relate better to women. Second, I know that roughly 70% of the people who follow me are ages 24 to 40, but I tend to relate to people who are 50 or older a lot better. And again, that just comes down to my personality, my values, and so forth. I also know that I have 2 very distinct groups of followers online, and they have 2 very different sets of ambitions, and so they require 2 completely different sets of messaging. And there's a whole lot more that I've learned about the people that I interact with online. And I learned all that by tracking and paying attention to it, and then adjusting how I communicate with those people, and then just seeing how it plays out. And so it allows me to identify what my most ideal client or customer is, and then be able to adjust my messaging accordingly to be able to attract those people. And so when I go to market anything I do, I understand exactly how to craft the message to attract the right people for the right project. All right. So the big question is, how do you do it? How can you implement this in your business? So there's 3 things or 3 factors that I use to target my clients in 3 very distinct ways. First off is demographics. So again, I talked about knowing that 85% of my followers are male, knowing that 70% are ages 24 to 40, and so forth. I track demographics, and then I pay attention to the people that I interact with and have good relationships with and get an idea of what their demographics are. So I can know who's following me and what their demographics are. And I also can know the ones that I interact with the best. Second is interests and keywords. So I know what the general interest is, but I also know the language they use. Okay, so I know the words they're using to talk about their interests, and I can identify and reach out to those people. The third is what I call the core identity. This is knowing who they are on a deep, emotional, personal level. So all these things combined give me the information I need to understand what makes my best clients tick and how to reach them on all the various platforms that are out there and attract them to me. All right, so let's break this down in detail. Let me show you step by step what you need to do. So the first step is you need to start tracking your demographics. Now, most ad networks or platforms that are out there have at least some variation of demographic targeting. So if you want to be able to target, once you identify who your ideal clients are and what their demographics are, then you can go about targeting them in all these different ad platforms. If you don't know those demographics, then you can't target them on those platforms. Okay, so you need to have an idea of what those demographics are. Now, probably the easiest way to track demographics is Facebook. To either upload a spreadsheet of existing leads or clients into Facebook, or to add tracking code to your website to be able to and set up a custom audience to be able to track those people in real time and get an idea of their demographics. Now, being able to do this for existing clients would be the best. However, Facebook needs thousands and thousands of people to be able to show you all the demographics that are available, simply because they don't want too small groups, because then it starts to get into showing you almost individual people's demographics, and that's kind of starts to get into privacy violations and so forth. So you need lots and lots of people to be able to see the demographics. So most people, most freelancers, most businesses probably aren't going to have thousands and thousands of clients for service work. So the best way to do this then is to be tracking your leads. So you can kind of start to assume that your leads and your clients are going to be somewhat similar, and you'll be able to get an idea of general demographics of leads so that you can target those people. Of course, you again always want to pay attention to your clients and who you get along with best and so forth, and use that. But the Facebook tracking will give you a good idea of who's actually coming and who they are, what their demographics are, and so forth. So once you have the demographics set up, you can go into Facebook Insights and it'll tell you all of the different demographics for those specific people. And again, pay attention to the interactions that you have and start to get an idea of the ideal demographics that you want to target, so that when you go out to do any form of advertising and you need to know demographics, you can have those demographics in place. And plus, it helps you to understand in general the type of person you're talking to and some of the things that they might be dealing with and what they want to hear. And it helps later when we get into the core identity. It's not going to be foolproof, but it'll give you kind of a rough idea of what you're working with. The next is step 2 is to identify important interests and keywords. So you probably already have a good idea of the general interests. So for example, in the services I'd offer, I know people are interested in WordPress, they're interested in membership sites, they're interested in wishlist member. I know the general interests, and you're probably going to know that as well. But you also need to get specific with the words that they use, or the language they use to talk about those interests. Because that language is going to be important again for ad platforms that you might work with, and also when you're writing your content, creating your content, you really want to use the same language that those people are using. So a good example of this is, for a long time I was as I started getting into teaching freelancing, I was targeting freelance clients. I was using that word because that was my word. What I found out is that most of my clients actually talk about web design clients, not freelance clients. And so that helped me to change my language so that it matched what those people were doing. And then I could start to also advertise content and services more specifically. So you need to know the language. It's going to help you with SEO. It's going to help you with ad platforms. It's going to help your content just resonate better with your clients. So you can, probably the easiest way to do this is to just do a Google search for Google Keyword Planner and go into that tool and just start playing around and use the Get Ideas kind of tool to type in keywords and see what people are looking for, and start broad and then really hone in on what is your kind of target language that you want to use for what it is that you're doing. All right. Step 3 is then to connect emotionally with the core identity of your ideal client. So here you want to really get to know who they are, their hopes and dreams, their fears, their values, and all that stuff. So you're trying to connect with them on an emotional level because you'll instantly gain more trust and be immediately more persuasive. When you can connect with someone emotionally, it really kind of brings down their defenses and allows you to then be able to actually communicate with them. So a really good way to do this, the way I do this, is to take some time and think about your ideal client's typical day. What does that look like? And describe it in detail. So I call my core customer, my core client, Sally. And as I went through this, I started to realize that Sally looked a lot like my mother. Now, my mother wasn't a single mother because, her and my dad are still together. However, my dad was in a bad car accident when we were young. He's what they call a high-functioning paraplegic. So most of his adult life has been being a paraplegic. And so my mom, in a lot of ways, had a similar experience to single mothers, taking care of me and my 5 brothers, and also taking care of my dad, being the main breadwinner. I saw her working jobs that she hated, day after day, year after year, simply to provide for us, and really giving up all her hopes and all her dreams to be able to take care of me and my brothers. And so when I start to look at who my client is and who it is that I really want to help, they look a lot like that. That's why I relate better to females. That's why I relate better to people who are a little bit older, because my mom's a little bit older. My mom's now over 60. So all those things kind of feed into one another. When you start to be able to connect with those people emotionally, I can talk about my mom's experience. I can relate to those people so much better than maybe someone else, because I watched my entire childhood growing up my mom go through that, and so I know exactly what it's like. I know what it's like to be the child in that instance, so I can relate to that. Right, so you want to take some time to sit down and think about that and describe their typical day. So literally describe every single event. If I were to go back and describe my mom's typical day, I could do that in great detail when we were growing up. And so you just, when they wake up, what's the first thing they do? If they eat breakfast, what they eat, where they go from there, if they take kids to school, if they go to a job, what their job is like, how they feel that whole time, what they do once they're done back from their job. All of those different things describe in detail what their typical day is like. So once you do that, you're going to start to get an idea of what their life is really like, and their hopes and dreams, and the things that scare them, the things they fear, the things that excite them, the things that motivate them and drive them. You're going to get a lot better idea of all of that. It's going to help you to connect with them better emotionally, and it's also going to help you to be able to craft your messaging a lot more effectively. All right. So that's step 3, the core identity of who your core client is. Now here's the side benefit of doing all of this. When you do all of this, we go back to our original point, which is how to avoid clients from hell. Someone who's not a good fit for you when you do all of this is going to stick out like a sore thumb. And you're going to know immediately that they're not right for you. And if you take them on as a client, at some point down the road, it's probably going to turn out bad. So you can avoid that altogether from the start if you so choose. So that's what's going to make your life a lot easier, because then you're going to be able to look for the clients that you know are going to be a good fit, are going to be a good match. And you're going to have a good rapport and good relationship with them because you can connect with them emotionally. All right, so those are the 3 steps to do it. So now here's your challenge. Ideas are great, which is what we've talked about in this video, but you only get results with action. So here's what I want you to do right now to get started with all this. Take some time today and write 2 to 3 pages describing your ideal client's typical day, and describe it in as much detail as you can. Now, it's not going to be perfect this first time. My first time was kind of vague. It wasn't perfect, but it's going to reveal things to you that you probably never noticed before. And then you can go back and write it a second time and a third time and a fourth time. And by the time you get to like the 5th or 6th time, you're going to have some very great detail. It's going to be something that when you read it, it's going to make you emotional. Every time I read what I've written about my ideal client, I get emotional because it takes me right back to growing up as a child and what my mom went through. So each time you revise it, it's going to get better and better until you reach a point that you know you have your clients pegged emotionally and you know exactly how to communicate with them to attract them to you. So go do this right now and let me know what you discover in the comments below. All right, once you're done with that, there's 2 more things that I would encourage you to do. First off, if you haven't yet, you'll see a subscribe button somewhere around here. Go ahead and click the subscribe button to subscribe to this channel so that you can get more videos just like this one that are going to help you down your web design career path. The second thing that I encourage you to do is to head on over to johnmorrisonline.com, and on that you're going to see the opportunity to download a free report that I've created for you, which is called 7 Strategies to Turn Your Code into Cash. And in that report I lay out 7 different strategies on how you can monetize your coding skills and help you create more income for yourself as a web designer. So go over there. It's absolutely free. You can go ahead and download that, and you'll have access to that report so you can start monetizing your code and fast forward your career as a web designer. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.